thank everyone so much for coming today.
Thanks for putting it together.
Right on.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's rare we get to have someone like Rob come in here and do a masterclass. So, big opportunity for everybody.
It's good to be here.
Right on.
Appreciate you guys coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's start around real quick. I'm trying to get closer to you guys so it's not just like a, you know.
chairs looking about.
I'll scoot in a little bit.
For some of us who might not know, you want to start off just by talking
Yeah,
about
you got it.
the squeezes?
Yeah, for sure.
And you got the band and whatnot.
Yeah, so for you guys that don't know much about the Squeeze or the main Squeeze, it's a band that started out in Bloomington, Indiana, at Indiana University, about 6 years ago, and yeah, they've been rolling ever since. I actually met up with them as, you know, people and friends probably a couple years ago, and then I actually joined the band last December/January, New Year's kind of time frame, but yeah, just became real good friends with them. I got to school a lot later than, you know, they did. They were already pretty established by the time I got to college. And I remember, you know, I was talking to Corey, our main singer, about this the other day. It was like, I got to school and, you know, I was in the jazz studies department at IU, so that's my kind of my main background is jazz and R&B and gospel. But I remember getting snuck into this venue called the Bluebird that's in Bloomington when I was, I think, 20, maybe 19. And the main Squeeze was playing, and I remember just walking in and it was just like, who the hell is this band? Like, I've never seen a band put together like this that is like live, like college kids like actually killing it. So I kind of went out of my way to make sure that I, you know, knew them and, you know, personally, and talked to them and, you know, just kind of hung out. And eventually, you know, I got to be really cool with Reuben, the drummer in the main Squeeze. He was also in the jazz studies department at IU, so we became really cool, and so started hanging with him, and ended up joining a few other bands at IU before joining the main Squeeze. Is a band called 3 Story Hill, which Carl was actually the main trooper for that band, so I used to sub in for Carl all the time back in the day in that band. So until eventually that became the band that I pretty much spent most of my time with, 3 Story Hill, and then and then the main Squeeze guys moved up to Chicago. I was still in school, and just last year I finished up, and they were making the move out to Los Angeles, and so they were, you know, kind of putting things together, just trying to make sure that they were, you know, lined up to go out there and, you know, really make an impact. And their bass player, or their former bass player, Jeremiah Hunt, who stayed up in Chicago, he was a jazz player, and he plays more upright than electric, so he kind of wanted to go down that path and stay up there and, you know, do that. So yeah, they, I think it was Smiley, just gave me a call at the end of last year and said, hey man, we want to potentially move out to LA, and we were thinking about having you come out with us. And I was like, no, I'm in Indianapolis. Kind of like just living in, you know freezing weather and yeah, all that stuff. But no, seriously, like it was, you know, it was great. You know, got on with them at the end of the year and started doing rehearsals, and started playing a few shows with them, and then we made the 30-hour drive out from Chicago to LA and never looked back. So it's been great ever since. So it's been good. I've been, you know, actually in the band full time for about 9 months now, and it's been great just being on the road and kind of going to a lot of different places. And I think this year, with the 2 bigger tours that we've had, I think we've almost seen every part of the country, except for a few places. But other than that, I think we've hit everything. But it's been great. You know, this is my first actual time being on a tour like this with a band that, you know, is, you know, out, you know, for 6-7 weeks at a time, and just playing like every single night. It's you know, which is a lot of fun, but it's also, you know, it is the job. You know, you show up to the gigs, you do the sound checks, you get everything in order, you play the show, and you pack up, and then you go home and get up and drive to wherever the next city is, and you do it all over again. So, you know, it's a great experience. You know, it's not for everybody, you know, and definitely have to understand that, you know, that's something that you really want to do if you know, want to live that life. Because everybody kind of sees the glamorous aspect of it. It's like, oh, I get to go out here, I get to play music all the time in front of all these fans, and I get to drink, and I get to hang out with girls, and I get to, you know, I get to do all these things, but, you know, people forget the aspect of like, okay, you gotta get up at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning to go drive 10 hours, you know, to the next state or whatever, and as soon as you pull in, like, it's sound check, you know, you gotta get everything together, levels, all that kind of stuff, so it's two aspects of it, but, you know, I definitely wouldn't trade it in for the world, you know, it's probably one of the greatest experiences that you could have of just, like, doing something that you love to do every single day, and not looking back, so, yeah, just a little bit, sorry, I kinda over-talked that, but definitely
Not at all,
just,
man.
That was great.
definitely, definitely enjoy it, so. Any of you guys touring right now? You guys playing, you touring right now?
Yeah,
Okay, who you playing with?
playing a group called Dino Hunter.
Okay,
I think we just did Joshua Tree Music Festival in the fall, which I think you guys did last spring.
yeah,
So we did their fall festival, but we're doing 3 weeks in January, and last couple of years we've been getting out quite a bit. But,
cool,
I mean, it's, like you're saying, it's the best, and it's also like, you get back and you need like a week and a half to
Absolutely.
like get your head back right and do whatever else you gotta do, but.
yeah, and we're finishing up on our, you know, 6.5, 7 week tour this week, so we're gonna head to Durango, in a couple days, do that show down there at Amis Theater, and then after that we drive back to Los Angeles, and we have about a month or so, back on the West Coast. We have a couple shows sprinkled in there, but we'll be back, you know, pretty much just kinda getting back on zero and just kinda reset everything before we head back out, so, yeah, like you said, it's definitely, you know, something that's needed after being on the road for a long time. But, yeah.
For those of you guys who don't know, this is Ben Smiley over here. He's a keyboardist for the main squeeze.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't.
He's gonna pick up, he's gonna pick up a bass in a little bit. He's trying to.
I'm eyeing that orange
over
one over there.
Nice. But yeah. So the rest of you guys playing any bands, or you guys just?
We're playing Cervantes on Halloween.
Okay, cool, awesome.
With
Man.
Kaleidoscope.
Yeah. Sweet. That's awesome.
I'm on, I played last night, River Park, tonight in Boulder.
Yeah.
Not bass though.
What'd you play?
I'm singing lead vocals.
Come on, Coney. I didn't know you could sing like that.
Yeah, neither
I
did
had to hear that. I had to hear a recording of that. Cool. Anybody that doesn't play bass here? Just chilling?
Yeah, I'm basically a
Yeah, man.
newbie.
No, and what you said earlier was great. It's like the fact that you actually want to come in here and kind of see the other side of it. You know, 'cause
Yeah.
you said you're a drummer, right?
Yeah, and so I'm just kind of looking to teach my students be able to play bass, and
Yeah.
like, because I think teaching drums and bass is like,
It's,
you know,
yeah, they
like,
got to be the same thing,
for
man.
sure, yeah.
It's got to be the same thing, and that's what I was talking with somebody yesterday about was, you know, as a bass player, you know, it's a lot of, you know, you kind of look at how bass used to be played, you know, back in the 50s and 60s, and you look how bass is played now. Totally different things, especially, you know, in the different genres. Like, I kind of grew up in a gospel R&B setting, so some of those bass players that I see are just like, how the hell is that even possible? Like, some of the stuff that they do. But I tell you what, like, anything that you do, whether it's just grooving, whether it's playing 64th notes or whatever, it makes no difference. If you don't have a drummer that's locked in, or you two aren't
Totally.
together on the same
Yeah.
page, you can do whatever you want. It's not going to matter, because it's not going to feel good. You know, and that's the most important thing about our jobs, is making sure that the music feels good and the integrity stays there, you know, throughout whatever we're doing. Especially for me, like, I'm a groover. Like, I sometimes can go out of the box and do some shit, but like, I am focused on just grooving and just locking in and making everybody else sound good around me, which is, you know, like I said, our job. And I was taught that the word groove, the definition of that, is the governing pulse within time. So when you think about that, you know, as a concept, you know, it's got to be more about the foundation and the job than it's just about, okay, well, come on, see what I can do. You know, you guys are too busy focusing on the guitar player and the keyboard player, like, look at me, like, it's great, but if you and the drummer aren't locked, like, you know, nobody's calling you back, man. Like, nobody's gonna give you the time of day, so that's good that you are trying to get that other
Oh
side.
yeah, I just want to reinforce that
Yeah.
within myself, you know, especially for a drummer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Cool, well, I'm gonna pick up this bass for a minute. So playing for a second.
That's what we're
What is that? It's
kind of going. So anytime anybody's got any, yeah. So I'll kind of go through what I got in a second. We'll play for a second, and then any questions y'all got at any point in time, just ask, cause I'll just keep talking for days and just keep running through. So just anytime you have a question, just let me know. So I'm gonna do a couple things. Just a little track, just kind of talking about groove. I think that's going to be the main focus for the day in general anyways, but song I kind of a groove, just like for practice I put together probably 2 or 3 years ago, and the main riff of it is just, let me see if I can get level on this. So yeah, you guys can all play with me. I know we don't have a crazy amount of amps in here, but anybody wants to plug in and figure it out. Yeah, for sure. So the main riff, and this is like the easiest finger version of it, but it's just in slow motion. It's just. With this track, so it's a little faster, but let's go. Hey Carl, I'm not getting all the sounds on here. Do you think it's just the?
Is it pan?
Maybe it's a pan or something.
Where are you going to?
Nothing. All right. Well, we'll just keep going.
Central? Yeah. That's all it is. Sound good?
Cool. So yeah,
Do you have a chair? You got one?
we'll just keep going for now. For some reason, these sounds aren't really coming through. So,
You gotta figure it out,
so
eh?
yeah, so just
It's all, everything's all like centered pan. There's nothing but flip. It's all this area.
Oh, what is that?
let's see real quick. If not, don't worry about it. You don't have a, you have a quarter bit at all?
Like an adapter?
Yeah, you just have a
Do
quarter
we
bit?
have an adapter?
So 1/4 to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. That way I can just plug straight in.
What's your name, man?
Hank.
Hank, Carl. Nice to meet you, man. Right on. Thanks for coming.
I think I've seen you at the Lazy Dog.
Right on. Yeah. You play there with your band?
No, I just played there with my friends a couple weeks ago, just on the local
I got the 8th, if you have a bit.
Yeah, I go there on Tuesdays quite a bit.
Oh, you're not getting.
We host it
Yeah, it's
sometimes.
like cutting some
Kind of
of
social, a little local, like.
work.
How it do?
Social. It's been like, it's been as busy recently. I don't know why. They've been having some out-of-town bands come through that not a lot of people know. And it's like, since no one recognizes them, no one comes out. Sometimes it's not very good.
How did that GTF for you?
Yeah, that'll do it.
Sweet. Super fun.
Yeah, they were playing like 1:45 at the bar and turned the lights on. They're like, guys, you gotta go. You gotta go.
Reuben?
Saturday at the Lazy Dog.
I feel like they like you to get out of there pretty quick.
They what?
I feel like they like you to get out of there pretty quick.
They do. They don't like music going much past 1:15.
It's Boulder.
Yeah.
Can't do anything like that here.
I know.
People start to get all mad.
Hey.
Yeah, fair.
Okay.
That doesn't sound too bad. You guys still alcohol over there yet? Not yet. That's why. You have a private party like that. That's what you can start. I guess the Lazy Dog could stay open and not serve alcohol, but I feel like everybody would leave.
I have to kick everybody out and then bring them back in.
Oh, you'd have to re it up and like close the bar. Alright.
Okay, for some reason it's just not going through, but we're just gonna keep rolling, just to keep it moving, but you can kinda hear where that sweet spot is, like with the drum is not really doing much of anything. It's more just straight pattern, just boom, chop, just a straight pattern kinda deal. up here. So I have had for the longest time the problem just of getting pedals that work for what I'm doing. You know, I didn't even start using pedals until I started watching Tim LaFay like play bass, and I was just like, I remember him coming to IU and doing some clinics, and I was just like some of that stuff was like, how does that even? It doesn't even sound like a bass anymore. It's just like this crazy sounding stuff. So once he came, it like pretty much just transformed my whole outlook of like tones and just like getting new sounds for what I was trying to do. But one thing that is a thing that took me the longest to really just figure out was like, what is the purpose of pedals? Like, why do we have them? Why do we use them? You know, what's the point? And a lot of people are very just don't use any kind of pedals, just straight ahead. You know, they don't even want to deal with it. But for me, it's kind of how I think about it. It's just like you have to understand what your gig is. You have to understand like what you're actually doing for whatever band you're playing or whatever solo stuff you're doing. You have to understand, you know, what that actually is and what could complement that. What can make that better? What can enhance it? So for me, it just took the longest time because I just went out to Guitar Center and was just like, you know, you go to Guitar Center and there's the whole shrine of guitar pedals, and you go to the other side and it's like the one little cupboard of bass pedals. So, you know, it just, yeah, I don't understand it at all. But so me just being so amped up and just wanting to use all these pedals was like, oh, well, screw it. I'll just get a bunch of guitar pedals and try to make it work and try to do all these kind of things. And realized once I spent thousands of dollars on pedals that, you know, made no sense for what I was doing, that there's a reason why it is a guitar pedal and there's a reason why there's a bass player, because guitar pedals, most of them, don't react or don't have the response rate that bass pedals do because of the low register. So if you're playing things, you know, if you have, I used to do a lot of earthquaker device pedals, so I used to play around with a lot of those, which some of them are cool, you know, some of them that, you know, can respond at a good time, but a lot of them that are just like, you know, like the whole time, and it's like, damn, I just spent $250 on this pedal and I can't get anything out of it. So yeah, so it's just trial and error, just trying to figure all that out. And then, you know, one day went over to my buddy Terrence's house. You know, Carl knows Terrence pretty well. He's a drummer, you know, producer, keyboard player, all the whole nine. Cootie knows him too. And he had this Moog downstairs. Not this one. He had a Sub Fatty. And I was like, well, what is that? Like all these knobs and shit on it. I was like, what is that? He's like, well, it's some Moog, man. Like, have you ever played on one? I was like, no, you should try it out. And so tried it out, and I'll get into the Keybase stuff later, so I'm not going to get too far into that now. Long story short, found out that Moog had a line of pedals that they use for their Moogs and, you know, guitars and stuff like that. But started messing around on them and realized that they actually have a great response rate to bass. Like, you can play on bass and everything is just like right in the money. So, like for this, the envelope filter. It responds immediately, just right on the board. So, like, just right on it. So I was like, damn, like I'm going to try that out. So I ended up just buying the Mogerfoger low pass filter because it's, you know, it's like an envelope filter. I don't know if you guys mess around with like the Aguilar pedals and stuff like that. Same kind of deal. I tend to like this one a little bit better. So that's that. I have the low pass filter, and then I have a drive. So it's like, you know, you got your bass muff, like your big muff and stuff like that that you usually use. I kind of like this one a little better. Pretty much dial on to whatever you want. Got some tones. So still got that response in there. You can still hear the clarity more just heavy stuff that needs distortion, like any type of drive pedal that, you know, fits for bass. But for me, I went with the Mo drive. And then so kept going. I was like, okay, well, let me, you know, grab some stuff that's kind of just weird. So just to have it, you know, just in case. So then I bought the ring mod. Like, you know, and this is the one pedal I don't get the most use out of because it's not really, you know, not too many songs unless you just write your own, you know, song that fits that. But, you know, it's just kind of it's different tones and kind of change the mix of it. The great thing about these pedals too is like you can pretty much mix it to however you want it. So if you don't want that much ring mod in there, you can actually just take it out of the mix, you know, so take it all the way out, you know. You can change the frequencies and all that kind of stuff to get that kind of tone that you want. So all great, you know, you can pretty much, like, this is kind of like all the way up, but yeah, great thing just to have. You never know, if you guys are doing a groove with a drummer or something like that in the middle of a show and it's just you and the drummer, you're trying to do some cool shit, just pull that out and fucking just go in it. Sorry, I'm cussing loud shit up. Sorry. So yeah, so that was that, and then you got, for me, just wanted to have a flanger when we kind of break some stuff down and kind of go into, you know, some ambient type of sounds or whatever. A lot of times we do that with the main squeeze, like we'll have transitions going into certain songs, so we'll kind of space it out and we'll kind of just add some colors and stuff like that over top of what we're doing, just to, you know, make it full and kind of just set a certain mood. So I bought the flange, which is kind of cool. What you do, different type of tones, change the rate on it, so it's a little too fast, but if you want to just get a kind of a good tone, kind of vintagey kind of sound, real old school vinyl kind of deal, kind of that tone, you know, that kind of darker tone. So I love this pedal too, which is great. And then I have a Pog, which a lot of bass players give me a lot of crap for this, for having a micro Pog as my octaver, but you know, it's cool. I like it. It does what it's supposed to do. I also like the fact that it's just very simple. You can either go up or down on it, so like what I was just doing a little earlier, so that's the octave up, so you have that octave up, so you have that octave up, and then you have the octave down, so which is good for what we do. A lot of times we get into a really heavy groove and just like to have that kind of just really heavy, like a lot of stuff that we do. It's not really coming good on this amp, but you get the idea. And then also too, you can just have both of them up at the same time. So you have both the octave down and up if you want it. So it's just good response. But again, like, don't buy any pedals that you feel are going to be helpful for what you're trying to do. You know, just, I mean, it's always good to experiment, like especially if you got the money. I personally don't have the money to just keep buying pedals and just do whatever I want. I mean, so yeah, if you got the money, you know, do it. But for me, it's like you kind of got to know, like for Main Squeeze, we consider ourselves a post-funk band. So we do a lot of funk, we do a lot of rock and roll, we do a lot of soul and R&B, and a lot of fusion stuff. So all of these pedals actually made sense for what we were doing. So yeah, and it's, you know, once you really figure it out, again, you're going to save yourself a lot of money and just time. So you can really just hone in on like everything that you know, these pedals have to offer. So, all right, enough talking. I'm gonna do another track. Let me save that. And this is kind of just, I'm gonna be talking about, you know, going back to groove, kind of some things that you should just always keep in mind. So right now I'm gonna play this track and it's just on a loop, but basically just talking about just locking in, just on a groove, patterns, placement, space, subs, and colors. So I don't know if, it depends on the situation. Again, I grew up in a gospel setting, so like bass players just love to sub, and they love to like play different notes over certain grooves to change the whole color and vibe of, you know, what's going on. But you got to be careful when you do that to not take away from the song or take away from what, you know, the whole band is really trying to do. So subs and colors, and this thing asked me to join this network one more time. And tones, just the pedals that correlate for whatever you're doing. So we'll play this track real quick. I'm not going to have any pedals on to start. So. Just the things that, something like that, especially when you're with a drummer, like just thinking about the groove and like what pattern you want to do, and just placement, like what kind of placement is going to make the most sense with what the drummer's doing, and also like if you got a horn player or you got a singer, like what are they doing with their, you know, with their melodies or harmonies that's going to fit with what you're doing. Space, like you can always, everybody can play the most notes. Everybody can do, you know, the most if they want to, but the person, you know, that's going to be